Hi and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I made paper tabletop minis for our Pathfinder campaign. My husband came up with this idea instead of actually spending a whole fortune on actual small minis to use for our Pathfinder campaign. He had the idea that, hey, my wife's an artist, we could just draw the minis, which in retrospect those minis are really expensive. So when he's like, hey, you want to draw some goblins, I'm like, yeah. So this is sort of an inexpensive way if this is something that you like to play like Pathfinder and you're wanting to have a more visual experience with it. This is something that you could do, and it's not too difficult, and I'm actually going to show you how to make a repeating pattern with this so that you can have a whole sheet of them and you can cut them out, and you'll have, like, if you're fighting a goblin army in this case, then you'll have a whole sheet. And I think we had over 20 of them on one sheet. So the way we did this is the goblin takes up one square on the map and is one square high. So this canvas you can think of as a 1 by 2 inch canvas. It's actually bigger than that when I'm drawing it because I don't like to see the pixels. I don't want to see them. I don't want to know they're there. So essentially what I did is I drew a forward facing goblin, and it's a naked goblin in this case because I want to be able to modify this template to have different types of armor. Maybe it's a different kind of goblin. Maybe instead of a short sword it has a bow, or I think it's actually a dog slicer is what the actual name of the weapon is called, but that's not the point right now. But I drew the front facing and then I flipped it onto the other side of the canvas and erased out the details, so essentially I could make it face the other way, because when you print this out you're going to fold it over and make a tent with it. So the front half of the goblin is on one side and the back side of the goblin's on the other side, and when it stands up you have that visual of which way the goblin is facing as opposed to which way your character is facing, and it's pretty cool actually. So that's the gist of that. But what I did was we have a grid, a sheet that we have that's similar to how our map looks, and it's in an 8.5 by 11 format. And what I do later after this is I import it in and I take the goblins and sort of make a repeating pattern with them and line them up according to that grid, so I get as many as I need and I know that they're the correct size, so when I print them I can cut them and fold them over on themselves. Also, if you're noticing these little clown boys popping up in the corners, that's part of my stream setup. I'm streaming now on Wednesdays and Sundays on twitch.tv/ChericasSharpArt. You can come join us there, and there's a lot of clowns and honking because in the time that I've been gone I read the entirety of Homestuck and I'm horribly corrupted. Horribly. Don't unsubscribe. Anyway, so this is me going over and adding the details of the goblin's armor to the new template. And you can do, I have a problem. I put a lot of detail into this for something that when you print it is teeny tiny. Like those little stitches you see, we printed those out. You can't see those. So if you're drawing your own, you feel free to put as little effort into it. Put way less effort into it than I did, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. People are going to look at this little tiny square of paper that you have and they're like, oh, green goblin, great, got it, kill it, murder it. I also have another example of this. that I'm going to come out with in 2 weeks from the time that you are watching this. I already recorded it. It won't be late. Don't get mad at me. But it's going to be for a bigger monster. So you have a separate example of how to make something similar to this, but also in a different size. So you can actually take this format and apply it to other things, because when you are playing D&D or Pathfinder, your monsters are all different sizes, and when you actually have a visual map, the amount of space they take up on the map is different. And you could also do this with your characters too. So like a halfling would probably be about the same size as a goblin, and if you were doing a human, it would take up the same space width-wise, but height-wise you would make it taller. So it might be a 1x4 inch canvas, and your human would take up 2 squares of space height-wise. So it would be a taller goblin. Like, see these foot wraps? Do you see how I'm doing these foot wraps? That doesn't matter. You can't see that. You cannot see that on the little squares. But again, you feel free to torment yourself as much as you want. But one thing that I do recommend doing with these, not spending all the time on the lines, but definitely making the colors vibrant so that it reads when they are this small. I mean, they're called minis for a reason. What we did was we found very teeny tiny little binder clips, and actually went and when we folded these in half, clipped the small binder clip to the bottom of them, and that way they actually sort of stand up the way that the side of the binder clip sits on the bottom of the map, and that way, you know, it doesn't, you don't have to worry as much about it sliding around or not being on the right square. I did add some shading because I wanted there to be some dimension to it, but once again, doesn't matter. Didn't matter at all. They're so small. But in the grand scheme of things, I think as artists we're all kind of perfectionists. And yeah, I'm also not using Clip Studio for this. I got I got a pen for my iPad, and Clip Studio on the iPad is a subscription fee, which sucks really bad because I already paid for the full version of Clip Studio, and I have not committed to actually paying the subscription fee on iPad yet, even though I would really like to. I would really like to a lot because I really like Clip Studio. I like it. It's my favorite drawing program that I've ever used. But Metabang on the iPad is free, so that's what I'm doing, is using Metabang. And it's okay. I don't have anything against it as a program. It's just not as comfortable to use as Clip Studio. I think I really like blending out my shadows, so for Clip Studio, I really like the way the tools work for that. I don't know. I don't feel the same way about Metabang that I do Clip Studio. I'm spoiled, but I'm making do with what I have. Who knows? Maybe it'll grow on me in time. So for this part, I actually, instead of completely drawing over the nude goblin, I just flipped the line art for the goblin that has the armor already on it, and that sort of made it go a little bit faster, just because I already have a sense of where the armor lays on his body, so it's just a matter of modifying that. And there I go, being ridiculous with stitching again. I promise you won't see that. You don't have to be ridiculous like me. Just I mean, let's be honest, you could make stick goblins if you wanted to. You could do it, and I won't tell anyone. I won't, because this was ridiculous. But yeah, that was the gist of what I did. Was I just flipped it onto the backwards model and just modified the armor how it was. One thing that I did do after I did put the colors down for the goblin is I put an overlay on it, because I felt like maybe it just wasn't bright enough, wasn't really popping out the way that I wanted it to. So I did put an overlay on it, and it did make the color stand out, and you can definitely see that color small, like as small as a 1-inch square. Okay, so now that that's done, I have rendered it slightly smaller. Please excuse the ads on Metabang, that was awful. It was awful on stream too when they started playing, so I'm gonna have to figure out something with that. But now that's the grid that I was telling you about before, and I just import the goblins onto it and basically get them sized the way I need them. So I also made a mistake in terms of transparency. That was my boo-boo. I'm still learning this program. But I know how many goblins that I needed, and I was able to fit them on the sheet and print them, and we came up with, I really want to say it was 22. 22 is the number that comes to mind. But it's finished, and now you can make Pathfinder minis for your campaign. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm gonna try really hard not to let YouTube die again. I'm definitely not gonna slink off for 4 or 5 months and go read another webcomic that's gonna ruin my life. Maybe, I hope. I've jinxed myself. That's gonna happen. It's gonna happen now. But thanks for watching. I will have another video out 2 weeks from now on Saturday, following up with this video with the bigger monster. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye.